Men and women of Reddit who caught their significant others cheating. How did you do that? And what was your reaction? I had some really good friends in the next town over where my girlfriend lived, and they figured it out for me. They were super gentle about it, and patient with me through my denial. It wasn't a big damn breaking moment. It was a lot of little things like how she'd canceled plans at the last second, or the random phone calls from unknown numbers she'd get. This was back before spam calls were an epidemic, or how her phone was mysteriously off one night when I needed to get a hold of her. I had my suspicions, and then finally it clicked into place when I did some Instagram snooping and found a guy who followed her who posted a selfie wearing a very unique jacket that belonged to her. I confronted her the next day. She denied it, tears begging all of that. I dumped her and walked away. The next day I messaged that guy on Instagram and he confirmed everything. Had no idea I existed. He dumped her too. Last I heard she's an EMT in Utah, Wyoming. Hope she figured out how not to be a garbage person. 4 years ago I was dating a girl who became distant and disinterested in a lot of things we both enjoyed together. Despite attempts to talk about it, she only grew more distant, then became less available to hang out, and suddenly was working late a lot. I started getting suspicious about cheating when she was on her phone nonstop. Again, I tried to talk about it, but she wouldn't engage. She also just didn't want to break up with me for whatever reason. I was actually going to end it on my own, but one weekend, when she was seemingly unavailable, some mutual friends told me they spotted her with a dude from her work, and they were all over each other. Coincidentally, she had also lent me her iPad and it was synced to her phone, so I saw lots of texts between those two over that weekend. They were talking about running away together, etc. He was married, and her supervisor mutual friends were also composed of her coworkers and reported them to HR. They were both forced to do training on not sleeping with coworkers. They were both denied promotion. His wife left him, and she moved overseas. Sucked at the time. I was devastated, but karma got them good. Went for my yearly checkup and tested positive for chlamydia. Turns out my ex was sleeping around at it. Apparently false positives are common with these types of tests, so have your SO tested as well. I hope you're in a relationship where you can openly talk about such things. We were engaged, and it was about 4 months to the wedding. It was her birthday, and a Friday. We had both wanted to see Blue Man Group for a while, so I had ordered tickets too. For us being a Friday, I took off half a day to surprise her. There was an unknown car in the drive, and the garage was open, which was extremely unusual. It also happened to bypass the camera we had facing the front door. I go in through the garage to hear the unmistakable sounds of sex in our bedroom. I had no clue who the guy was, but he was balls deep in her ass. She had the nerve to say that anal doesn't count. I ended our relationship then and there, which her family claimed broke her. The last time I looked her up a couple years ago, she had had 2 kids with 2 different guys, and had spent time in prison for meth. It was a small town, so no surprises there. Her family still make me out to be the bad guy in the relationship when I ended it because I didn't forgive her. Worst of all, I never did get to see Blue Man Group in person. June 1st, 2018. Normal day. Friday. My husband had kissed me goodbye and gone to work. I was cleaning the house for company who was coming to stay the weekend. The doorbell rang. There was a man at my door who introduced himself as the husband of a woman who my husband worked with. He was there to tell me that my husband and his wife were having an affair. He had busted them about 6 months prior and had told his wife that she had to end the affair. He thinks that she did end it for about 3 months, but then they started up again. When he found out they were at it again, he called my husband because he knew if he confronted him in person, he'd be in a jail cell for what he'd have done on the phone. He told my husband to leave his wife alone or else he would come and tell me everything that was happening. Apparently, my husband thought that he was bluffing, so I was literally the last to know. My husband never came home again. He got an Airbnb and a lawyer. The divorce was December 21st, 2018. We had been together for 24 years. Still hurts. I owned a house with my fiancé. I woke up in the middle of the night and he wasn't in bed. I went searching. His truck and another vehicle were in the driveway. Then I went upstairs and found the guest bedroom was locked. After barging my way in, I found him with another woman in bed. That bed happened to be my childhood bed. He forced me out of the room, literally grabbed me by the neck and pushed me out and closed the door back. I knew I couldn't do anything at that point, so I called his parents, who lived a few blocks away. His dad showed up and another fight broke out. I ended up leaving and staying at his parents until dawn. I moved out that weekend and let the house foreclose. 9 years later, it's finally off my credit report. I'm happily married to an amazing man and we own a beautiful home together. I caught my ex sexting a chick and telling her how he missed her on my birthday. I was young at the time and reacting with crying and yelling. If it ever happened now, I would just get up and leave. No point in trying to mend the relationship because it's near impossible to gain the trust that was lost. Edit spelling error. Edit. Thanks for the award. It's really sad how many people have gone through this same experience. I hope all of you are in a better place now. Ex-wife actually asked me for her blessing to commit adultery with another married man. She was shocked when I said I don't support it. She went ballistic, has severe mental health issues, went and did it anyway and ended up in a psych ward. 2 marriages ended and now the 2 cheaters are engaged. Little devastated at first. Blessing in disguise. I found a used condom on the bathroom floor. I just emailed him a 30-day end of tenancy notice. I owned the house. I was married out of the blue while at work. I get an email that says husband's name, wife. When I open the email, it lists off a name and says husband's name, married to her. Check on Facebook. English was not the first language. This was overseas, so I do, and what do I see? Tons and tons and tons and tons of pictures of a woman with my husband, the woman and her kids with my husband, the woman and her family with my husband. I was stunned to say the least. It was October 6, 2017, 7 months after I almost died from an ectopic pregnancy. Yep, we were trying at that point to have kids. After work I went home and started throwing all of his stuff in the dumpster. He was out of town at the time, so I had plenty of time to do it. Spent all of Saturday and Sunday throwing everything he owned in the dumpster. A month later, I moved to a new apartment and waited until then to tell him I was divorcing him. He then killed himself a few months later. I had come home from a 5-month cruise. My GF at the time was a court stenographer, so when she wasn't at the pier I figured she had a case or was catching up on transcripts. So I got a ride from my friend to see unfamiliar BMW in my driveway. I walk in to see her blowing some stranger on my couch. Keep in mind, this was my house, not hers. I didn't say a word to her. I just started grabbing her shit and throwing it in the front yard and called her father to come pick her up because her car was an old Quattro and in the shop again, and up to that point I was letting her drive mine until it was fixed. I will not bore you with the drama, but she was taken by the Moz instead of her dad. Back then Facebook used to display on your profile stuff like DONTSAYAWORD to liked a photo and everything you did. I noticed he liked a photo of a girl that seemed to be someone he had recently added, so I checked her profile and she was one of those girls who think they won because men cheat on their partners with them. She had everything public, photos with him, bragging about the texts they exchanged, etc. So I engineered a way to befriend her roommate. I would then find out she was bringing other dudes home besides my boyfriend, and when I confronted him I also let him know about who else she was sleeping with and for him to get an STD test. Dated a girl for about 2 years. Like 18 months into the relationship we're talking about moving in together, then kinda out of nowhere she starts becoming distant and irritable. We ended up breaking up. Fast forward 3 months after the breakup, I found that Facebook has a section where messages from non-friends are kept. Turns out my then GF was banging her ex and the UPS driver that delivered to her store at the mall. She ended getting with the UPS driver and his 3 kids. Last I checked, they're fucking miserable, and it brings me joy every time I think about it. Edit. In my messages was a note from the UPS driver's then wife. My ex not only cheated but broke up a marriage. I had my suspicions, but it was her who ended up telling me. I went into the relationship thinking, wow, I don't deserve this girl. way out of my league. She couldn't help but remind me how much better he was several times and made sure to rub it in my face. My reaction was a spiral into deep depression. For someone that has very low self-esteem, being cheated on is one of the worst feelings. It feels like it confirms all your worst thoughts about yourself. Edit. I just want to say thanks to all the encouraging comments. This was some years ago and I'm in a happy relationship. I still struggle with depression, but I think even without this incident, I'd still be depressed, but I'm working on it. To anyone currently experiencing this, it's not the end of the world. Despite it feeling that way, you are worth more than you know. And I know you will see that someday. This is almost word for word how the convo went. Me, you sleeping with so-and-so. Her, yeah, me wanna divorce her, kinda. Me, okay, I'll file tomorrow. This first started back in December, right before we went on a holiday trip to see my family. She started acting somewhat off, kind of distant, and easily aggravated. I had a suspicion that something was going on, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I snooped on her iWatch, found some incriminating texts she had with a friend, so I confronted her. In January, she tells me that she kissed a guy that she works with, and that was it. We were having some issues in our relationship, and I choose to forgive her, and we decided to try working on some of the issues we were having. Well, fast forward to this past May, she breaks down that she wasn't honest with me and that she had actually fucked this other dude. We split after the news. We had been together 8 years and had been engaged for almost 2 years. Our wedding date was supposed to be fucking yesterday. It's still fucking killing me. I don't even know where to go from here. 2020 can go eat a dick. Edit. Ho, I did not expect this blow up. Thanks for the awards and kind words. I'm trying to upvote, respond to everyone that I can. I didn't catch her. She told me I wasn't a real man, and that's why she did it. She just told me everything she hated about me, went on to why I'm worthless, pulled over, kicked me out the car, and I had to walk back to my place. As far as my reaction went, I went home, cried, went to bed, stayed in bed for a few days, thought I was a terrible person for a few weeks, cut my holiday leave short and went back to work early to get my mind off things. Edit. This was a while ago now, and I'm definitely in a much better place in my life. A friend of mine was suspicious of her husband cheating, as he went to play soccer with friends way too often. He always came already showered, as he would sweat playing. One day, she sewed his soccer socks together, and when he came back all showered, she saw the socks were still sewed, so he wasn't playing soccer at all. Edit. Spelled husband wrong. Edit. 2WOOW. This blew up. Many people are commenting how this doesn't prove he was cheating, just that he was lying. She later confronted him and he was indeed cheating also. Many are saying clean socks would have been enough evidence, and that's true. I guess she didn't think that deep about it. I was at work and tried to call my boyfriend, but he wasn't answering even after a few hours, and I just got a horrible feeling. It stressed me out so badly for some reason that I started to cry, and my boss let me go home. The whole way home I just kept feeling serious dread. Walked in the house and into my bedroom, and he was laying in bed half clothed with some naked chick. Obviously a huge blow up went down, and after everything settled, this motherfucker tried to tell me that he went to the movies alone and met her there and she followed him home. Like, even if I believe that this person just followed you home and got naked, you let her do it. So what's the purpose of saying that to me? It was a shitty abusive relationship, and it didn't even end, and I eventually broke up with him, but not on the spot like I should have. If I could change anything about my life, it would be that I wish I broke up with that guy sooner. That was over 10 years ago though. Edit. Your responses are fucking hilarious. I have never laughed so much about this situation. I found out he had signed up for a bunch of apps such as Ashley Madison, Tinder, and Bumble. He would message his mutual acquaintances asking if they'd be up for massages, etc. I blamed myself for years that he wasn't interested in sex with me because I'd had a baby and gained a little weight. Nope, he just enjoyed contacting other women for sex more. We're in the middle of our divorce now. He doesn't understand why I'm wrecking our marriage because of a few indiscretions. Edit. Never, 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 never say you're single on Reddit because of the possible direct messages I caught my wife after she passed away from cancer. Worst feeling ever, caught between unending love Mourning and absolute anger. My ex and I used to share a computer. She was getting messages from her first boyfriend. I didn't bother reading them, because I figured he was just saying hi or wanted to know where she was in life. Now a couple of months later, I'm on the computer, and she insisted that she log out while I'm there. Okay, things feel weird. Here another couple of days pass, and she wants to visit her parents. Okay, cool. I keep the kids and she goes off. I get a call from one of my buddies who works at a hotel where my ex and I are both from, saying my wife just checked in with another guy. So long story short, divorced her. Fuck you, Stephanie. Edit fixed. A word edit 2. I've been trying to reply and upvote everyone, but I gotta take a break. It's been fun. I'll reply and upvote the rest when this isn't relevant anymore. He took a phone call from her in front of me, and because I guess he thought he was being slick, he started flirting with her in front of me. He ended up sexually harassing me after the relationship was over, and I got him in hot water for that. He never did it again and was told if he even talked to me again, he'd get fired. I ended up leaving that job a few months later. I knew he had been unfaithful in the past, but I didn't really love him, so it was not that bad. However, I was bartending one night and this drunk chick walks up and tells me that I looked familiar. She then proceeds to yell, "Oh, my friend is fucking your husband." So I walked into the beer keg cooler with a bottle of vodka. I downed some shots and went back to work. I held it in that I knew for a few months while I hired an attorney and figured out my next move. I had 3 kids to think of too, so I moved with my kids back home to Texas and got divorced. Now, I'm engaged to my childhood best friend and we plan to marry in Yosemite next year. He's the complete opposite of my ex, kind, supportive, and loving, so fuck that Sasquatch looking cheater. A few years back I was dating this girl, and ended up becoming really good friends with her brother. He appreciated me helping their family when their father died. Suddenly 2 years into the relationship, asks to meet up for coffee and a serious talk. Apparently he caught his own sister with another guy, a mutual friend of ours. It had been going on for like a year. Broke up with her, still friends with the brother. The end. I caught my RuneScape GF Amanda, 411, dancing with some other guy in Lumbridge, some guy by the name of NoobSlayer94. How could you do this to me, Amanda, 411?